Hi, gang. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I know I didn't get a second video in. Um, I tried. I tried. Just didn't get it in. I'm sorry. I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. Had a lot of fun with family and friends. Ate entirely too much food. I ate way too much. Way freaking too much. Um, I'm actually thinking about doing the gym again. I miss the gym. I have a heavy bag out in my garage. Unfortunately, my garage is full of crap right now, full of stuff. So I can't really get in there to do the heavy bag, um, which makes me unhappy. But I've been kicking around doing that, doing the gym again. But then I'm like going, is it gonna be like it's gonna be like the last couple of years where it's like I get the membership and I never freaking go. So um how many of you guys do that? How many people do the gym thing? And how successful is that for you? I do need to do something because I miss it. I know it sounds weird, but I enjoy hiking, I enjoy working out. I just have gotten out of the routine of it. I did it for years. I did it for decades, actually. Even when my kids were very young, I always managed to get a walk in or do some work on the bag in the basement. Getting old. All right. Um, I can give you a little bit of a sort of a vague update on my big announcement. Um, we are one step closer to the announcement. I sent some copy off to the company in question, ran it past my agent, and I am really hoping in the next few days, maybe before the week's over, we'll be able to announce. And when we do, I'm going to do an announcement on the channel as well as my Patreon and everywhere else. So you guys will absolutely know. And thank you for being so patient. I'm sorry to be vague booking. I hate that shit, but it just I have to kind of get along, make sure everybody is on the same page and everybody's happy. I got some very nice holiday wishes from folks on my author Facebook page, and I wanted to thank everyone for those. Y'all are very kind, and I'm very thankful for all of you. I hope you all know that. Okay, Neil Gaiman. Yes, we're back to Neil Gaiman again. There is a writer named Jed Herne. Let me show you his thingy. There we go. This is Jed Herne. These are some of his books. He is a fantasy and science fiction author out of Australia. I had his YouTube channel recommended to me, and it was an interesting piece that he did, and I thought I would share his findings with you because I think they might be of value to you as a writer. They certainly were to me. Um, he decided to undertake kind of Neil Gaiman's regimen for writing. And it's some very simple rules. I will be honest with you, I'm a little bit familiar with them. A few years ago, uh, my dear friends Dave and Susie gave me a Masterworks class from Neil Gaiman as a birthday present. And it was really great. It was a lot of fun and very informative. Um, I would highly recommend you check that out. There's one right now with Alan Moore that I want to try to jump into if I can never get around to it. But since I can't even get my fat ass to the gym, I don't know if I'll have time to sit down and do a Masterworks class with Alan Moore. But um, Neil Gaiman went over some of this stuff in the Masterworks class. He he also, and this is interesting, Jed Herne mentioned this in his YouTube video. I'm going to give you a link to his YouTube page and to his author page here um, in the description of the video. But he mentioned a few years ago going to an event where he got to basically be part of an audience that had kind of like an evening with Neil Gaiman. And actually, I got to do that as well. Dave and Susie, again, they're the best. Uh, and my friend La, we got to go see Neil Gaiman and basically listen to him read some stuff. and answer questions and just kind of pontificate on his craft. It was fascinating. One thing that's really interesting is Neil Gaiman's not a shy guy, but he is very clearly a little socially anxious. He has a little bit of a kind of a shyness to him, but he can speak his piece. This all happened back before COVID, so but it was really interesting. Jed Herne here, when he had his evening with Neil Gaiman, a question got asked about what was like some of the best writing advice he had ever gotten. And Neil Gaiman said it was from Terry Pratchett, who I'm sure you're all familiar with Terry Pratchett. If not, shame on you. Um, he and Neil Gaiman did Good Omens. He also did the Discworld books, which are so awesome on so many different levels. The Hogfather is always a good one. I have friends who watch The Hogfather every year, the movie, as part of their holiday tradition. So Terry Pratchett told Neil Gaiman that it's basically you don't always have to know how your story is going to end. Now that's interesting because one of the things that I usually tell folks is you should have a good idea of how your story is going to end, especially if you're trying to pitch it somewhere, because what they usually want is they want like 3 chapters of your book and they want a summary of your book. And the whole reason they want a summary is they want to know kind of like, have you thought this thing out and do you know where it's going? You're not going to get, 10, 20 pages, 10 or 20 chapters into it and then just get lost. So they do kind of want to know where you want to end it at. But what Terry Pratchett was saying is it's okay. You can trust yourself to know that you'll find your way. And I think that's good advice because I think a lot of folks who write, who want to do it for a living are extremely self-conscious, extremely anxious. For a lot of folks, and I'm not going to lie, for me sometimes writing is like it's like a minefield. It's like you're just you can get so paralyzed that you don't actually do the writing. So saying to someone, you have permission to write and you'll find your way to your ending, it's not bad advice. It really isn't. And clearly, if it's coming from Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, yeah, it's it's okay. Well, so Jed Herne was writing a book, and he was kind of a little stuck. So he decided he was going to try um, kind of some of Neil Gaiman's advice. The first bit of advice he had, jump out of here. First bit of advice he shared was write every day, even if it's a little bit. And I agree with that. I give that advice to folks quite often. Everything you get better through most things by making it a habit. And how do we make a habit? We make a habit by doing it again and again and again. When I was still working on my first novel, Six Gun Tarot, I was working multiple jobs. I was raising my kids. And I remember many nights coming home exhausted. I would just throw up in the laptop and I would try to get a page. Some nights it was a paragraph. Some nights it wasn't even that much. It was whatever I could get out. I tried to get that out. And I think it's sound advice. It's good advice. It doesn't have to be a lot. Hearn mentions that Gaiman recounted a story when he was writing Coraline that it was a busy time in his life. He had a lot going on, and he literally just had time to he kept a like a notebook and pen next to the bed, and he would try to write a paragraph, something, every night before he went to bed. So I think that is good advice for any writer, beginning or experienced. Write every day, even if it's just a little bit. It is moving you forward, and it gets easier the more you do it, and it becomes you miss it. You miss it when you don't, and I know a lot of folks write because they have almost like a compulsion to write, and I get that. The times in my life when I haven't been able to write every day, the times in my life where I haven't written for like weeks or months, It wears on me. And eventually it gets to the point where it's like, I have to write. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that's a really good thing. So, one, write every day, even if it's just a little bit. Two, use pen and paper for your first draft. Now, I've heard this from several writers. I don't do this, and that partly because my handwriting makes chicken scratch look like calligraphy. I just have a lousy handwriting. So bad, in fact, that I do role playing games. I run role playing games, and I'll write my notes out. And a lot of times I'll be like, what is this? What was I trying to say 2 days ago when I wrote this? Um, however, the thought behind this for Gaiman, Herne explained, was that by writing it with pen and paper, you don't have kind of the lazy convenience, and those are not his words or mine. Lazy convenience of a word processor, of typing it out, of being able to, immediately change it with just a couple of clackety clacks. It means you have to really think about the word choices you're using, and it means you have to kind of focus more on the words. And I think that would probably add a great deal. Neil Gaiman is very well known for having this kind of luxuriant vocabulary. The words he uses are they're very evocative, and uh, there's a kind of a comfy magic to it. Sometimes not so comfy, but I think that is one of his little secret weapons. Herne tried it. I have to be honest, I never have. I have, however, there have been times when like I've been somewhere and something hits me about a plot or some element of a plot, and I will grab a notebook, write it down. I've got notebooks here where um, my friend Katie gave me this like awesome Klimt notebook. I love Klimt, and it's just an empty notebook, and I ended up drawing a map to think out in my head the logistics of like an action scene in Brotherhood of the Wheel. Um, I've done that before, like for coming up with maps and things like that. But also, I can see the value in it. It's basically designed to. It would be like learning to fence on a balance beam, because you're basically you have to pay attention to keep your balance as well as pay your attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it. So that's his second piece of advice: is write with a pen and paper for your first draft. Now, once you get the first draft done, then you can use all the normal modern conveniences. His third suggestion, Gaiman suggests having designated distraction-free spaces for writing. Not a bad idea either. We have so many distractions, especially at a computer. If I'm writing away and my Facebook dings or I get an email notification, it's also there's the terrible butt and chair syndrome, which all writers, I can speak for myself. I suffer from BICS, butt and chair syndrome. If there's, I have had times where it's like, gosh, I can't write right now. I have to stop and wipe down the table in the kitchen. It's just you'll try to distract yourself from the work, and it is mental work to write. Anybody who does it can attest to that. A lot of folks just think, you just sit down and make shit up. Well, if only. It would be great if it was that fucking easy, but it's not. So having a kind of designated space. Gaiman says he uses like a gazebo that's on the back of his property. He goes out there and sits down and writes out there, which also would make having a pen and paper as your medium for writing much easier. Jed Herne also suggested a place. He had a place in his backyard, and he thought about the public library. I used to go to there's a Barnes and Noble here in town. There's a couple actually, and I would go to one of them, the Tanglewood Barnes and Noble. Shout out to Tanglewood Barnes and Noble; they're awesome. Not that Valley View isn't, but I have a much more personal connection with the folks at the Tanglewood Barnes and Noble. I would go there and poach a table and write for a bunch of reasons. If you're home, you will find other stuff to get into. Um, and there's just more distractions in your own home. I've got an office. I have an office here. I can shut the door and close out the rest of the world. But there's your phone, there's other apps and applications and stuff on your computer. And then there's your own brain. If I am sitting at a table, and now there's distractions in Barnes and Noble too. People come up and down, you end up talking to somebody. Roanoke's a fairly small town, so it's like you usually bump into someone who knows you, and you end up chatting and all of that. But for the most part, I could get some good writing in. I used to do it when I would pick up my daughter from work. I would come early to her work, and I would just sit in a corner at a table and work. And so there's ways to kind of discipline yourself to do it. You can go out into nature and have that sort of stimulate your mind and relax you and also inspire you. Or you can just basically find somewhere where there's not a lot of distractions. I would add to that, if you are writing at home, put your phone in another room. I do that a lot. Put your phone in another room. Don't have any other applications up on your computer other than your word processor. Um, don't make it easier to distract yourself. His final bit of advice that he gleaned from Neil Gaiman was, let's see, you have permission to write or stare into space, nothing else. If the muse is not taking you, um, you have permission to sit there and be quiet and think. And eventually, sooner or later, the way our minds work. If you think about it, I used to get great ideas for writing stuff in the shower. So it's like your mind will tumble other stuff over it, but eventually, especially if you're really, if you enjoy writing and it's become a passion for you, eventually your mind will find its way to that path. And then suddenly new ideas open up, scenes open up, characters open up. So, but you have to give yourself the time to do that. And we live in a society that is much, very much keyed to distract us from everything, including especially our own minds and our own thoughts. So, anyways, that is those are the kind of the four cornerstones of what Gaiman suggested and what Jed Herne decided he was going to undertake. He did this for a week. And I do urge you watch his YouTube video. Like I said, I'll put the link in there for it because it's a good video, and he seems like a decent fellow. And I found it a fascinating thing to watch. He said that he was feeling more focused. He was feeling more excited about the writing. He felt like it was coming a little bit easier to him. So it was a good experiment, and maybe you should try it. If you do, please put the comments, put something in the comments to that effect. Let me know how it goes for you. Please check out his YouTube channel, and also please check out his books. I have not read anything by him, but like I said, he seems like a really decent guy, and it was a very well done video and very informative. So much so I wanted to kind of share it along with you. That's pretty much it for this time. I am wanting to start my Batman the Animated Series rewatch. I'm going to try to get that going. I'm also thinking about doing a video on imposter syndrome, which I think is something a lot of us could benefit from. I know from a fact that I've wrestled with that through my whole career, actually my whole life, and I think a lot of folks do as well. It's not always just in writing. It could be in other things too. But I would also very much like to urge you guys to please go check out my Patreon. See if you want to sign up. I just dropped the next chapter in the Black Coda novel on there. It is a fantasy novel, my own world. I'm having a lot of fun writing it, and it's something I'm doing just for my Patreon people. Also, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I'm trying to grow it, and I appreciate any help you can give me in that. Like the channel and like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you do, please click on the little bell for notifications of new videos coming out. I am trying to keep to at least doing one a week, if not more. I'm having a good time doing it too. It's really just a matter of, a lot of times it's just a matter of time. But um, like I said, I'm enjoying it, and I'm hoping it's stuff that you guys are finding valuable and fun. Um, all right, I think that is it. Hopefully, before the end of the week, I'll be making a big announcement about some exciting new stuff coming up in my writing universe. Um, I hope you guys are having a great week. If you happen to see this tonight, which is the 30th, I'm also doing a open community chat on my Patreon Discord. It is open to everybody. You don't have to be a member of my Patreon to hop on and take advantage of that. So I will leave a link for that as well in the video. There'll be a temporary link, but I'll leave it for my Discord. I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you so much, as always, for jumping on here and encouraging my obsessions. And I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.